What if I told you that millions of people are about to waste hundreds, sometimes thousands, of dollars on a GPU that is already becoming obsolete? Not in 5 years, not in 3 years, right now in 2026. And the scary part, most of them don't even know it yet. They're walking into Best Buy, clicking add to cart on Amazon, and confidently pulling out their credit cards, all while buying into one of the biggest tech traps of the decade. Today, I'm going to show you exactly which GPUs you need to stop buying immediately, and more importantly, what you should be doing instead. Stay until number 1, because that one will genuinely shock you. Here's the problem. The GPU market in 2026 is not the same market it was 2 years ago. The rules have changed, the technology has shifted, and the pricing strategies from the big manufacturers, NVIDIA, AMD, and now Intel, have become more complex and more deceptive than ever before. For decades, buying a graphics card was simple. You looked at benchmarks, compared prices, checked your power supply, and made a decision. Maybe you overpaid slightly, but generally, you got what you paid for. That era is over. Today, there are GPUs sitting on shelves and dominating online listings that look incredible on paper. The spec sheets are impressive, the marketing is slick. The YouTube review thumbnails make them look like the second coming of graphical computing. But underneath all of that, they are terrible value. Some of them are architecturally outdated before you even open the box. Some are priced at a premium that simply cannot be justified when you look at what else is available right now. And some are being pushed heavily by retailers, specifically because newer, better alternatives are eating into their sales. This is the trap, and it is catching millions of buyers every single month. Let's talk about the scale of this problem for a second, because it is massive. The global GPU market was valued at over $65 billion in 2025. That number is projected to keep climbing through 2026 and beyond, driven by AI workloads, gaming demand, and the explosion of creative content production worldwide. Millions of new GPUs are sold every single quarter, and a significant portion of those sales go to consumers who are making uninformed decisions. Not because they are careless, but because the information landscape around GPUs has never been more confusing or more deliberately misleading. Think about it. NVIDIA alone releases multiple product lines targeting different price segments. The naming conventions have become so convoluted that even experienced PC builders get confused. You have tie variants, super variants, refreshes, rebrands, and completely new architectures, all existing on the market simultaneously, all being marketed aggressively, all competing for your money. And here's the most frustrating part. Some of the worst value cards, the ones you absolutely should not be buying in 2026, are not cheap cards. They are mid-range and even high-end cards, sitting at price points between $300 and $800. Cards that feel like premium purchases but are silently robbing you of performance per dollar. The stakes are real, the money involved is real, and the confusion is completely intentional. So here is what we are going to do today. I have put together a list of the top 5 GPUs you need to stop buying in 2026, ranked from bad to absolute worst value for money. For each one, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, why it is a trap, who it is still okay for, and what you should buy instead. And then, at the end, I have a bonus pick that almost nobody is talking about. A GPU that has been quietly sitting in a pricing dead zone for months, a card that the manufacturers desperately want you to keep buying. And yet, the data says it is one of the worst purchases you can make right now. Plus, I will handle the biggest objection I always hear. But the reviews said it was great. We are going to talk about why most GPU reviews in 2026 are structurally unable to tell you the full truth. Stay with me. This is going to save you real money. Before we get into the list, you need to understand the landscape. 2026 has been a genuinely unprecedented year for GPU buyers. 2 major shifts have happened simultaneously, and together, they have completely scrambled the traditional value ladder. First, the rise of AI-driven upscaling and frame generation technology has fundamentally changed what raw GPU performance means. NVIDIA's DLSS ecosystem, AMD's FSR pipeline, and Intel's XeSS have all matured dramatically. What this means practically is that raw rasterization performance, the number that dominated GPU buying decisions for 30 years, is now only part of the story. A card with lower raw performance but superior upscaling support can actually deliver a better real-world gaming experience than a more powerful card without it. Second, NVIDIA's Blackwell consumer architecture and AMD's RDNA 4 rollout have both landed with meaningful generational leaps. The gap between the current generation and the previous generation is larger than it has been in years, and that makes last generation cards, especially last generation cards still being sold at near original prices, extraordinarily bad value right now. When you combine these two forces, the upscaling revolution and a significant generational leap, You get a market where the wrong purchase can set you back not just financially, but technologically for the next 2 to 3 years of your gaming or creative life. Now let's get into the list. Let's start with number 5, and this one is going to upset some people. The RTX 4060, the card that NVIDIA marketed as the sweet spot for 1080p gaming. The card that sold in enormous numbers throughout 2024 and 2025. The card that still dominates the budget gaming GPU category on almost every major retailer website. Stop buying it. Here's why. The RTX 4060 launched with an 8GB VRAM buffer at a time when the writing was already on the wall that 8GB was becoming a ceiling, not a comfortable ceiling. In 2026, we are seeing titles regularly pushing past 8GB of VRAM at medium to high settings at 1080p, not 4K, not even 1440p. Straight 1080p gaming is starting to expose this card's memory limitations in ways that are only going to get worse. And the performance itself? With the arrival of AMD's RX 9060 XTs and Intel's Arc B580 in the sub $300 space, the RTX 4060 has been completely flanked from below. You can now get meaningfully better rasterization performance, more VRAM. It does in competitive upscaling at the same or lower price point. Who is the RTX 4060 still okay for? If you already own one, do not panic. You are not in crisis. This card still plays most games well at 1080p. But if you're standing at a checkout counter deciding whether to buy one right now, put it down and walk away. The value case for the RTX 4060 in 2026 simply does not exist anymore. Number 4 on our list is the AMD RX 7600, specifically the original version, not the XT refresh. AMD has a habit of refreshing cards without clearly communicating the performance gap between the original and the newer variant, and the RX 7600 is a perfect case study. The RX 7600 XT launched later and delivered a substantial uplift. More VRAM, better performance, better FSR4 integration. In markets where both cards are still being sold, the original RX 7600 is dangerously close in price to its superior sibling. But here is the deeper issue. AMD's driver ecosystem in 2026 has leaned heavily into RDNA 4 optimization. That means RDNA 3 cards, including the RX 7600, are not getting the same level of software investment going forward. You're not just buying older hardware. You are buying hardware that is moving down AMD's priority list in real time. The RX 7600 launched as a decent 1080p card in a world where it had less competition. That world no longer exists. Intel's Arc lineup has matured dramatically, and AMD's own newer budget offerings have made the original 7600 look like a relic sitting at a price it does not deserve. If you see one on sale at a significant discount, deep discount territory, it might be acceptable. Otherwise, this card needs to come off your consideration list entirely. Now we are getting into genuinely dangerous territory. Number 3 is the RTX 4070, the original, the base model, not the Super, not the Ti, the standard RTX 4070. And this is where the money really starts to hurt. The RTX 4070 launched at $599. In 2026, you can still find it new in box, and even from authorized retailers, at prices hovering around $500 to $550. And every single one of those sales is a mistake. Here's the problem. The RTX 4070 Super exists. It is typically available for $50 to $80 more than the standard 4070, and it delivers 15 to 20% better performance across most workloads. The Super is not a slight upgrade. It is a generational rethink of the same price segment. NVIDIA essentially admitted as much when they released it. But that is not even the worst part. The RTX 5070 Blackwell architecture has entered the market at a price point that, while higher on the MSRP, is delivering performance that makes the RTX 4070 look like a mid-range card from 3 years ago. Because architecturally, at this point, it basically is. Spending $500 on an RTX 4070 in 2026 is like spending $500 on an RTX 2080 Super in 2022. You're buying premium pricing for a card that the market has already moved past. Who does this hurt most? Content creators and streamers who are making purchasing decisions based on 2-year-old review videos that are still ranking at the top of search results. Those reviews were accurate when they were written. They are not a guide for buying decisions in 2026. We are at number 2 now. And this one is less about a specific card and more about a practice that is quietly robbing budget-conscious buyers blind. In 2026, the budget GPU market is flooded with what I call rebadged ghosts. These are GPUs, often from legitimate add-in board partners like Sapphire, Gigabyte, Asus, and others, that are selling rebranded or very slightly refreshed versions of 2- and 3-generation old Silicon under new product names. You will see these cards under names like Gaming OC Edition or Extreme Edition or some other combination of marketing words designed to make them sound new and powerful. The box art is fresh, the RGB lighting is flashy, the cooling shroud looks modern. But you crack open the spec sheet and you realize you are looking at GPU Silicon that debuted in 2022 or early 2023, now dressed up and priced as if it were new. This practice is rampant in the $150 to $250 price range, exactly the range where first-time PC builders and budget gamers are shopping. And it is predatory. These buyers are not equipped to cross-reference GPU Silicon names against launch dates. They trust that a brand new looking box means brand new technology. It almost never does. The fix is simple but requires homework. Before you buy any budget GPU in 2026, look up the GPU chip inside the card. Not the product name, the actual GPU chip. Look up when that chip first launched. If the answer is 2022 or earlier, put it back on the shelf. Intel's Arc B series and AMD's newest budget Silicon offer far more modern architectures at comparable prices. And here we are. Number 1. The GPU you absolutely, under no circumstances, should be buying in 2026. The NVIDIA RTX 3080. Now, before you close the video, hear me out. Because this is not a hate piece on a legendary graphics card. The RTX 3080 was one of the most important GPU launches in history. When it arrived in late 2020, it genuinely redefined what enthusiast gaming performance meant. It was a monster. It was a landmark product. But 2026 is not 2020. And the RTX 3080 is now being sold, actively, aggressively marketed, through renewed, refurbished, and even some new old stock channels at prices between $400 and $600. $400 to $600 for a card with no DLSS 3.5 support, no frame generation in NVIDIA's current implementation, no AV1 encode on the original models, no architectural support for the AI-driven features that are increasingly central to how modern games are designed and optimized. The RTX 3080 is Ampere architecture. It is 2 full generations behind Blackwell. And yet, there are sellers on major platforms positioning it as a premium deal or a budget enthusiast option. And buyers, many of whom remember how dominant this card once was, are falling for it. The performance gap between an RTX 3080 and a current generation mid-range card has now crossed a threshold that makes the 3080 difficult to recommend for anything beyond the lightest gaming workloads. And for that price, you could be holding an RTX 5070 for a few $100s more, a card that will remain competitive for the next 3 to 4 years. The RTX 3080 is not a deal. It is a legacy product being monetized by sellers who know the card's reputation is doing their marketing for them. Do not buy it. Okay, I promised you a bonus, and this one is genuinely under the radar. The honorable mention for GPU you should stop buying in 2026 goes to the NVIDIA RTX 4060 Ti 8GB. Yes, the Ti. Yes, at a price that feels premium. Here's the quiet disaster. The RTX 4060 Ti 8GB launched at $499, in the same product family as a card, the 16GB version, that offers dramatically better longevity for only $50 more. The 8GB Ti was almost immediately made redundant by its own sibling, and yet the 8GB version continues to be sold at near launch prices through retail channels, sitting in that $450 to $490 range, where buyers assume they are getting something substantial. They are not. The VRAM ceiling problem hits this card even harder than the standard 4060 because buyers spending this much money expect the card to last 4 or 5 years. It will not comfortably. If you're in the $450 to $500 range, the RTX 5070 is now within reach on the open market. And that conversation should begin and end there. I know what some of you are thinking right now, but I watched 3 different YouTube reviews of the RTX 4070, and they all gave it a glowing recommendation. Here's the thing, and I say this with enormous respect for the GPU review community. Most GPU reviews are structurally frozen in time. A review published 18 months ago was accurate at that moment. The benchmarks were real. The performance was real. The value assessment was real. For that specific moment in the market, reviews do not update, markets do. The reviewers who gave the RTX 4070 4.5 stars in mid-2024 were not wrong. They were right. But the market has moved, the competition has intensified, new architecture has arrived. And that review, sitting at the top of a search result, is still influencing purchase decisions in 2026 as if it were written yesterday. This is not the reviewer's fault. This is simply how the information ecosystem works. And it means that the responsibility falls on you, the buyer, to check the date on every review you watch, and to actively search for more recent content before committing to a purchase. The best GPU review in the world becomes misleading the moment a better competitor launches at the same price. Let me bring this together quickly. If you are a budget gamer under $250, avoid rebranded legacy silicon from third-party AIBs and look specifically at Intel's Arc B580 or AMD's RX 9060 series. If you are in the $300 to $400 range, the RTX 4060 and the original RX 7600 are both traps. Look at the current generation options from AMD's RDNA 4 lineup, which are actively competing in this space. If you are a mid-range buyer at $450 to $600, the RTX 4070 and the RTX 4060 Ti 8GB are both dead-end purchases. The RTX 5070 should be your conversation starter, and if someone offers you an RTX 3080, regardless of price, do the math carefully, very carefully. Here's the truth about where we are in 2026. We are living through the most architecturally consequential GPU generation shift in over a decade. The gap between what hardware can do and what games and creative applications are starting to demand has never been wider. And that means the penalty for buying the wrong hardware at the wrong time has never been higher. This is not just about benchmark numbers on a spreadsheet. This is about whether your machine is going to feel alive and capable 3 years from now, or whether you're going to be sitting in front of a PC that cannot handle the next wave of games, AI-assisted creative tools, or real-time workloads that are already being developed as we speak. The GPU market rewards informed buyers right now. It punishes inertia and brand loyalty and nostalgia for hardware that used to be great. You now know what not to buy. The next move is yours. Now I want to hear from you. Are you currently using any of the GPUs I mentioned today? Did you almost pull the trigger on one of them recently? Or maybe you think I got something wrong. Maybe you believe the RTX 4070 still deserves more credit than I gave it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me what GPU you are running right now, what you're saving up for, or what you think I should cover next. The best GPU conversations happen in the comments, and I read every single one. If this video saved you even one bad purchase decision, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who are about to make the same expensive mistakes. And if you want to know exactly which GPUs you should be buying in 2026, that video is already live on this channel. Check it out next. See you there.